before lock. I am Doug Shane at Bankster17, joined as always by Michael Gudadero, the Big Gouda on Twitter. And of course, you can find us over on YouTube. Just look me up, Doug Shane. Like, share, subscribe, click the notification icon so you know when we're posting new videos. And we will be posting videos, actual videos, training videos, all sorts of fun stuff. And we go live twice a week, Friday afternoon/evening, depends upon what coast you live on, 7 o'clock on the East Coast. And of course, Sunday morning live before lock, 11:30 on the East Coast. Until about 10 minutes before lock, because I like to do the dad thing right before lock and hang with the kids. We like to watch the Red Zone Countdown. So I leave early so I can go play with the kids because dadding comes first. Mr. Gudadero, Big Gouda, what do we got this morning? How you doing today?
I'm great. I'm ready to go. You know, we're starting off on a bang. We just got word Aaron Jones is officially out, so that provides a little bit of clarity there in the Packers' backfield. That's been one of the bigger stories that we've been watching.
Super helpful.
Yeah. So that'll make things easier right now, at least for that point.
I think so. So that actually is interesting that brings this that you bring that up to Aaron Jones, because that now opens up that Jamal Williams value. So let's talk about let's go right into it. Let's dive right into cash. We're a focused site. We love our GPPs also, but I would really like to focus on those cash games to build a bankroll. And boy, this week with cash, there's a lot of options. You got your high-end options. You got some low-end punt options. What are you doing? What are we doing at running back? And here's your decision point for this week. This is really what it boils down to. We spent a lot of time in the Bankster DFS members-only Slack chat, which you can join, by the way, banksterdfs.com, $3.99 a week. You get our members-only Slack chat, daily player pools, and articles for every sport, including college and niche sports. But anyway, we're in that Slack chat this morning. It's been rolling since, I don't know, I woke up 5 o'clock on the West Coast, and it was popping. Gouda was in the chat talking to people, and the main it was crazy today. It was awesome. I wake up and there's like 40 messages. I feel great. So we're sitting there and we are in our chat room, and the big question basically comes down to, what am I doing with my running back positions? There's basically, you got three options. You're either spending down at one running back spot, spending down at two with Gio and Jamal Williams, or maybe Justin Jackson, or you're not spending down on running backs at all, and you're just going to kind of go against what the flow is doing, what the general public is doing, and you're just going to spend up. And when I say spend up, I mean we're spending $6K or more on each of our running back spots. So here's what it's really come down to. If you're going to punt one running back spot, and by punt I mean Gio Bernard, who's probably the preferred option, Jamal Williams or Justin Jackson. I'll maybe throw DeAndre Swift in there, though I don't think we should be using him in cash, but I know people want to. If you are going to spend down at one running back position, what are you doing with that money? What are we doing with that money? Now, there's a lot of people who want to spend down at two running back positions. They want Gio and Jamal, or Gio and Justin Jackson, because it's usually Gio plus, right? Gio, if you're spending down at two running back spots, one of them should definitely be Gio Bernard. If you're spending down at both, what are you doing with those savings? You better have a good plan for those savings if you're going to spend down at both running back spots. And if you're spending down at no running back spots, where's your value going to come from? Because if you're not spending down at running back, you got to spend down somewhere to make everything fit. Where's that value coming from? You're going to punt quarterback? You're going to punt tight end? You got to punt receiver? You should always punt defense. So what are we going to do? How are we going to get that value? Michael, what are you doing this week? What is your decision point with the running back position in cash this week?
So my thing came down to before this news came out, a couple nights ago, I had Aaron Jones as a lock in cash. I was going to go Jones and Kamara with Gio Bernard, and with what that did and the options it gave me elsewhere, I was very comfortable with it. Well, now with Jones being out, the news basically coming last night that he was essentially doubtful and he was going to travel but was not going to play. Now we got the official word. I look at it as, well, you're going to want probably one of the value guys in cash. So if it comes down to then Jamal Williams or Gio Bernard, I have a very tough time using both of them, simply because then I feel like you're forcing higher price guys in other spots. If you use two real value running backs like that, you become you're almost forced to use the money, and you don't want to really leave a lot of money on the table in cash. A couple hundred's fine, but not when you're getting over 1,000, which is highly probable if you're using two value running backs like that. So it comes down to, for me, using one of them and which one it is. So when you look at it, well, Aaron Jones is so much more talented than Jamal Williams, but Jones is only getting 60 to 70% of the work. Now with Jones out, do we really think that Jamal Williams all of a sudden is going to get over 70% of the work? No, I don't think so. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a 60-40 or 50-50 split with Williams and AJ Dillon. And the Packers also have, let's not forget, Tyler Ervin on the active roster, and they also elevated Dexter Williams from the practice squad yesterday. So they've got 4 guys there that could potentially see some work. We know they do like to work in Tyler Ervin as a little cut type of trickster type of play. So that could take some touches away from Jamal Williams potentially. And on the flip side of that, the Gio Bernard argument, well, Cincinnati has no running back depth after Gio. Every week it's been Giovanni Bernard and Joe Mixon active, with them having Samaje Perine active as well, but he's getting like 1 or 2 snaps a week. They elevated, I don't know what his name is, I know the last name is Williams off of their practice squad, but they've only got 3 running backs, and none of these guys are going to get much work of anything outside of Gio Bernard. So it's very likely Bernard sees 80% of the snaps and 70 to 80% of the work, if not even more. So I'm so much more comfortable using Bernard there, and then having 2 other higher end running backs, and then finding the and playing around elsewhere with it. I'm always much more comfortable on the running back side to not guess and take the workloads that we know we're going to be there. Now, it doesn't always work out. We saw last week with Mike Davis and Alexander Madison that their workloads just did not amount to points, and that's fine. That will happen from time to time. But again, when you're consistently using the running backs that are going to get the work and get the bulk of the work, where you're looking at 60 to 70%, if not higher, 9 times out of 10, those guys are going to be very reliable and not be the reason that your cash lineup does not hit for a week. And
so, yeah, I agree with a lot of everything that you just said there. I think that it just makes a lot of sense on that respect. Now, for me, I'm going with I'm spending down at 0 running back positions this week. I learned my lesson last week, and I didn't spend down last week. We got cute, right? We got cute. The whole world got cute with Mike Davis, which wasn't cute. He just kind of fumbled around, but not actual fumbled, but he didn't play well. And then Alexander Madison, which, listen, if he's going to get Dalvin Cook touches, you figure he gives Dalvin Cook productivity in a game where he should have smashed. Didn't happen. Not making that. And then we should have played Derrick Henry, right? He was the only decent running back on the slate, and we didn't play him. And I don't, that was a problem. So this week I'm not getting overly cute. If there were players I absolutely had to have at the higher end, or there wasn't a punt option at tight end or defense or something like that, I would probably be okay with Gio Bernard. And Gio Bernard should be fine. Every time he stepped in for Joe Mixon, he's been an RB1. Like, he's been good. He's been totally fine. Yes. But I think there are good running backs in good spots, higher end running backs in good spots. Todd Gurley is in a great spot. Kareem Hunt, as you're playing him, is in a great spot. And obviously we're all playing Alvin Kamara. I'm not going back to Mike Davis. I don't love Zeke Elliott. I don't trust Derrick Henry for cash again. Lesson learned last week. Sure I did. But it took a 52-yard run in overtime to get him to value. So it was.
But also, let's not forget the main reason too that we did not use Derrick Henry was because we loved AJ Brown at a drastic value, and AJ Brown did exactly what we needed. So it worked out from that logic. Just from the using Madison instead of Henry, that was that exactly didn't work, but the reasoning was sound.
Except I got overly cute and cash and sat AJ Brown too, because I tinkered like an idiot. I wrote up AJ Brown as a core play and then didn't play him because I'm dumb. But no, that was the right, and that was the reason we were off Henry. We didn't want to play both players. So this week though, I can get the receivers I want in my lineup without having to spend down at running back. Like, if you want to play both Steph Diggs and Devontae Adams, you're probably spending down at least one running back position, and you're probably punting tight end and defense. But I don't need to do that. I think the cheapest wide receiver in my cash lineup right now is who is my cheapest wide receiver in cash right now? It's oh gosh, I blanked. Is it Terry McLaurin? No, it's Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks, Terry McLaurin. I got Cooks. Listen, I got Cooks, McLaurin, and Kenny Golladay in cash. I've got Hunt, Gurley, and Kamara in cash. I mean, that's a pretty stacked lineup without having to punt. Yeah, I'm punting tight end with Harrison Bryant. He was just listed as the starter over David Njoku. I don't spend up for defense ever, and I can still fit Kyler Murray in at quarterback. I didn't think my lineup was significantly better by going with Devontae Adams, Gio Bernard over like Todd Gurley, Kenny Galladay. Like I don't know. I could see the upside. I get it. Like if you feel Gio and Adams is the way to go, then yeah, that's what you did with spending down at one running back spot. What did you do? Well, I upgraded from Kenny Galladay to Devontae Adams. Well, great. Then you've answered that question. But if you're like, I don't know, I feel like I should be spending down and I don't know what else to do with the money. Well, then, what are we doing? Like, this should be, I mean, we talked about this a little bit, came on the air and wrote the article and we've talked a lot in Slack. This seems to be where our decision points are. This would be, I'll have to remove, let's take out what's on the screen there. This would seem to be where our plays are basically at. Defense, I don't know why we're spending higher than Washington at this point. Washington and the Jets are probably your two options for cash. I could see an argument, I suppose, on Houston because they put pressure on the quarterback. I could see an argument on Tennessee because they put pressure on the quarterback. Same with Arizona. They put a bunch of pressure on the quarterback, especially if you want a late game hammer. That's fine. But I'm just spending on Jets. The Jets have scored 2 or more fantasy points every week but one this year, and they haven't gone negative yet, despite being so terrible. And one of the games that they did okay against was week 1 against the Bills. Josh Allen puts the ball on the ground a lot. So anyway, I spent too much time on defense. So if you're spending down at running back, okay, well, then you should be looking at the higher end of quarterback and receiver and maybe even tight end. Now, Mike and I both agree that Travis Kelce is not necessary this week. Neither of us are playing him, though I do know he's going to be a really popular play. He destroys the Denver Broncos. He's the only high-end tight end that projects to do fairly well this week. Kittle's a little too inconsistent for my liking for cash right now. So, okay, if you're spending up at tight end, it's going to be Kelce. But we both agree that you're spending down somewhat at tight end. We disagree on the level of how far we should spend down. Gouda wants to go with Hunter Henry, who's in a great spot. I like him as a play, and he's definitely in my pool of GPP plays. If I'm playing that game, I'm perfectly fine taking the risk on Harrison Bryant. He catches 1 touchdown, I'm gold. He goes 3 for 30. That's 6 points. That's only 1.5 points away from hitting value, and I'm thinking I can get extra value at my quarterback position or somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So I'm not worried about that. Like, he doesn't need to have a monster game. So if we're doing that spend down, then again, we're all playing Kamara, right? We all have to agree. Everyone's playing Kamara. He's going to be a billion% owned. Fine, great. I don't know why you wouldn't put Alvin Kamara in your running back spot for cash. So, okay, we lock him in for sure. And I've locked in Terry McLaurin from day one. I know the weather's a little crappy in Washington. There's a little bit of rain, but rain, unless it's a high wind game, it's probably not going to affect too much. It's not a complete and total downpour. It's raining. It's not the end of the world there. And that helps the offense more than the defense. Gouda put it in chat this morning. The offense knows where they're going and the defense doesn't. That is advantage offense when the weather conditions are slippery. So again, what are we doing if we're spending down or running back on cash? Are we going to play Adams and Diggs? I love Diggs. I just can't get to him in any of my cash. I couldn't get a cash build where I was happy with Steph Diggs. There was no cash build. If I was going to go up to Steph Diggs at 7K, I was like, you know what? Let me just grab Devontae Adams at 7.9 and go somewhere else. Because of the way I was spending down at running back, I had the $900 to do it. There was no purpose in me putting Diggs in the lineup as much as I love him. But maybe you want to do both, and that's why you're spending down. But then are you going to use Jamal Williams and Devontae Adams in cash? I just don't know if that's the wise way to go.
So in a bubble, because they're very similarly priced, and you can get to either one of them in a lot of builds, I feel. Do you prefer Diggs or Galladay this week?
In a bubble, I probably prefer Diggs because I think the target volume's there. Like, if all things being equal, I prefer Diggs, but I didn't have the $300 to go up to Diggs from Galladay with the current build I'm in, and I'm already at rock bottom at tight end. I'm already at rock bottom at defense. Like, I literally can't go lower. Like, if I was using the Cardinals and I could have $300 and I could pivot down to the Jets, I would have gone up from Galladay to Diggs. Absolutely would have, but I don't have the $300 to do it. I wasn't willing to come off my 3 running backs. Gurley was as low as I was willing to go. And in order to get, even if I went from Kareem Hunt down to Mike, I think it's down to Mike Davis, that's only $200 savings. I'm still $100 short. I wasn't playing around with my lineup that much to go from Galladay to Diggs. If Galladay can get 10 targets, I think his upside is as high as anyone on this slate against a terrible Atlanta defense. I just question if they're going to try to get him 10 targets. They really want to run the football in Detroit. But Galladay's getting me 7 or so targets a week. It's a great matchup. I'm willing to do it. Keenan Allen might even be a better play at 6,300. But then I was like, what am I going to do with the $400? And I don't mind leaving $400 on the table, but I think Galladay's got more upside than Keenan Allen. So I just said, well, Keenan might have a slightly higher floor, but I'm going with the upside in that case. So that's where I went with that. I just felt it was the smarter way to go. But Diggs in a vacuum. If you have $300, go to Diggs from Galladay. I think. How do you feel on that? Are you similar?
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit torn on that one. I do think Diggs has a little bit better of an opportunity there because of the way that he is used, and Allen is a little more consistent than Matt Stafford is. But in the same token, the Bills Jets game could end up being lower scoring, and we know that the Falcons, especially with Julio back in the lineup and healthy, the Falcons can put up 35 points and a half. Meaning, the Lions could. The Lions might need to throw it 50 times to keep up with the Falcons if the Falcons are, clicking on all cylinders on offense like we kind of saw last week.
Yeah, that's part of it too, right? That Jets game, called the Jets game. The Bills game scares me a little bit. I'll be straight with you. The Bills game scares me because are they going to need to throw 14 times to Steph Diggs? I mean, he could get 8 targets in the first 2 quarters, I suppose. But that's part of it too. Is I just didn't want to have to deal with that game in that respect. And so not, with Jamison Crowder being out, there's just not as much to love in that game.
Well, yeah, that's a big issue. And also too, I mean, people will probably flock to Perryman, but if Perryman's on the outside against Tre'Davious White, I mean, he's basically going to be taken out of the game. And that becomes a little bit of an issue there too, because then it's like, well, then it becomes, well, who are they really throwing it to? They got they got a rookie making his NFL debut, and Mims coming out. He's a talented kid, but he's a little raw. He's got a lot of work to be done to really refine his game. So what do you really expect from that type of player?
Exactly.
And the Jets offense has been built the past 2 years around, throwing it out of the slot. And, does that mean they're going to split Herndon out and have him line up as a slot receiver? I doubt it. They have been barely using him. So it's, it becomes, well, what is really there for them to do on offense. So it could be an issue.
We also can't forget too that the Jets pass defense isn't awful. Like the Jets defense, this is why they're in my cash lineup. They're not good, but they're not awful either. Like they're
no,
you get some players doing some things again, but they're only giving up 250. It's terrible. I mean, only 200 yards last week, 242 the week before. The only game they've really gotten beat on in the past game was week 1 against Josh Allen, but they still put up 7 points. And then, week 5 against Arizona, where they only 2 points, but still 2 points when the team 30 points isn't bad. So, the Jets are just not giving up a ton in the past game. I don't think these offenses are going to try to run fast. They're not. I just don't. There's just. You said it right, Mike, when you were saying that, it's not like it's the Falcons Lions where teams are going to try to run up and down the field. The Falcons are going to try to get a ton of plays in. The Bills aren't looking to do that. The Jets aren't looking to do that. So I think that's I think that's something that we have to consider as well. So that's why I'm going Galladay. And just as I say that, we're talking about the Bills and the Jets, who have one of the best in the game, who's not there. We've got our own dirty slot showing up. Goodie's in the house. Sean Goodwin. What's up, Sean Goodwin? How's it going, bud?
What's going on, boys? What's going on? Nice, calm Sunday, and nothing crazy going on. Everything's normal.
Yeah, little football season going on, huh?
Whoa, Big Guta, what's going on, buddy? What's going on there?
What's up?
Wow, looking fresh.
Oh yeah, I shaved, then I got a haircut.
Fresh. Wow. Well, you're getting married, man. You gotta start looking like this, right? This is what's going on.
I mean,
right. Well, that awkward moment has now passed. You guys need a moment to. You know what? You guys seem to be enjoying each other's company. I'm going to step aside for a second and let Sean and Mike talk about the dirty slot and enjoy each other's company for a little bit. Boys, take it away.
Yeah, Sean, what do you got for us this week? We missed you on Friday, so you got some time to make up.
Yeah. Sometimes life just reaches up and kicks you in the butt there sometimes. So unfortunately, I missed on Friday, but we're good to go today. Just crazy what's going on right now. I mean, like all I don't know. I'm not sure if you guys touched on it or not. God, I mean, if you're making lineups, if you have plays in the late game, make sure they're in the flex spot and stuff so you can adjust. Like, I mean, we got the Aaron Jones news, which is good. I mean, just nuts. And the slot again, the same thing. There's guys overlooked, and there's some amazing plays that guys aren't going to look at. They're going to go and take one of my favorite plays this week, Tyler Boyd. Everyone's looking at Gio. Everyone's, and everyone's going to forget Tyler Boyd. I got him coming in at about 6% ownership, and he can absolutely smash against Cleveland. Was it week 1 or week 2? He had 7 catches, 72 yards, and a touchdown against the Browns, right? Like, smash spot. He could see. I mean, he could see above 10 targets this week. I'm pretty sure. Like, I think that's well within the realm of possibilities for Boyd. So love him. Another guy that I'm all over this week, Cole Beasley. Just as you guys were, I guess we're just finishing up on that game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's going to play Gabe Davis. I get it out. Brown's out, Knox is out. Maybe I don't know if you guys mentioned Croft. I don't know if guys are going to go there, but Cole Beasley, all he does is get 6 to 7 targets a week. He gets his yards at PPR. He'll get his points. I could see him grabbing a touchdown in this week against the Jets. I mean, what else can you say about the Jets? The Jets are awful. The Jets are the Jets.
Yeah.
It's just bad. It's bad. Nothing else to really say there. My dirty slot play of the week is Randall Cobb. An amazing environment, and I think he's going to get overlooked in this game. I think Jair Alexander is going to erase Will Fuller outside. And I think it's going to be Cooks, Fells, and Cobb running underneath and running free. David Johnson, Duke Johnson, all those guys. But I think Fuller gets erased. I think the Houston side's getting overlooked in this game a little bit. Like I got Cobb coming in, he's 3% owned. And he's like, same type, as Beasley, right? He gets his catches, he gets his targets. And if Fuller's erased, right? Watson can get it done, right? He can get it underneath. He can get it to. I love.
I think Cobb's gonna be a strong play this week.
Yeah, he's one of my there was not a lot of that jumped out this week, which is fine. I didn't want to force anybody in. I mean, the captain obvious play. I'm going back to Tyler Lockett against Arizona. He's going to be about 50. He's going to be a little higher. And I got him coming in. Yeah, at about 14% ownership. But the good news, they don't play till 8:20. I mean, you know how people are. They load up on those 1 o'clock games. They love the early ones. They want to see their points. So maybe 8 o'clock. Well, yeah, right. Maybe the game being moved to 8 o'clock is a bonus for us.
Yeah, it could take.
I don't think anybody's really.
Some ownership away.
That game's going to be a smash. I think so. I think it chip away at what it could be. If Seattle and Arizona is at 4 o'clock, Lockett, Metcalf, Wilson, these guys are probably pushing 20%. But Murray and Wilson probably will be up there anyway. But I don't know. I'm hoping Lockett might. Everyone adjusts and everybody wants to play early, and they overlook Lockett a little bit. But that's what it is.
I personally overlooked Lockett this week.
I added Edelman. I'm hoping
you added Edelman.
I hope that's the whole point of this. That's the whole point of the article. Like we've talked about why we came up with it. And Doug, I was just saying, like Tyler Boyd coming in at less than 6%, and Randall Cobb coming in at less than 3%. People just are overlooking these obvious plays.
Hold on.
It's good for us.
Sean Goodwin came on and talked about Tyler Boyd. You talked about Tyler Boyd? I'm so shocked. You never talk about Tyler Boyd on the dirty slot. I'm so shocked. So that's why I can walk away. No, he's a good play. I've got him. Any Cincinnati stack I run has Tyler Boyd this week, so I'm with you on it.
I'm going to talk about Tyler Boyd every goddamn week until he's 15%. Once he gets to 15%, then I'll talk about him. Until that day, I'm talking about him every week.
Talk about T. Higgins?
6%. Come on. Like he's come on. Like Cole Beasley less than 3%. Like, oh my God. Like I almost feel like a Doug rant. I almost feel like to go on a Doug rant here about this because it's just like people are not.
Do it, man. Go for it.
For it.
Go.
It's just go. You know what? people overlook. I don't get it. I just don't get how they all consistently keep overlooking all these plays, and it's like I will happily take Cole Beasley at less than 3% today. I got him with the Josh Allen combo there, and I will happily take that all day long.
Yeah,
Russell Gage too. I got Russell again. I mean, he's in there. He'll be less than 3%. That game should be shootout. Julio said he's good to go. Wise, he's like, give it to me. Let's go for it. So I mean,
yeah, he's ready. He's ready.
And we know Gage plays well. I mean, even last week, 10 points with Julio back in the lineup. Gage loves when Julio plays.
$4,400 opens up a ton, right? Like everybody this week's gonna go play Gio. Everybody's gonna go play Mall. Everybody's gonna go and play all this cheap chalk that's all of a sudden available. I'm gonna go play high-end running backs, and I'm gonna play Randall Cobb and Cole Beasley and Russell Gage as my value wide receivers, and be different that way. Right?
Mark agrees with you. Mark says as much as he likes Higgins, Boyd is the better player.
See? Mark,
Betty, on the other hand, Betty's not loving the Gage. She did not like Gage. She did not. It's not like
Betty's not feeling Gage. God, I
listen. Gage isn't a sexy name, but at $4,400, if he scored a touchdown last week, he hit value. All it took was a touch. Like he's there on volume. Gage, whenever Julio plays, Gage is there on volume. Like he gets 4 to 8 targets, and for 4K. Like I'm not playing him in K. If you're running 150 lineups,
price range,
20 of them, if 20 of them are that Atlanta game, you got to have some Gage in your player pool.
Yeah, I mean, down in that range, I do prefer Beasley and Cobb to Gage this week in that range. But if you want, like, if you're running a Detroit stack, like if you're doing a Stafford, Galladay, Hawkinson, or Swift, Gage is a nice cheap way to run it back, to get some on the other side. I mean, everyone's going to have Julio and Ridley and Hurts and like Price. Gurley, I guess. I mean, I'm not, but I guess there's people are.
I think the chat box is, and I won't put all the messages that are in there. They're anti-Gage, but that goes to speak to why you should probably look to Gage in a cash game, right? Or not in a cash game, in a GPP, because no one wants to play him. That's exactly what you're speaking to. That's like no one wants to do it. You want to be a little different? Great, play him. So I think that's a great
literally
idea.
At like 2% at 2% ownership. Because it's not a sexy play, so and yeah, I mean, did he burn some guy? We burned us that 1 week, but that was that's when we realized Julio needs to be on the field for Gage to be effective.
But everyone burns us. Calvin Ridley's burned us. Who's not burned us this year? You know what I mean? Like everyone burned someone at some point, and it doesn't mean there's never
like come on.
Yeah, there's never a never again player. You know what I mean? Like in the right position, every player is worth a look. And if no one wants to play Gage, and this is going to be one of the biggest shootouts of the week, and you want to differentiate a little, you throw Gage into your lineup. I'm not saying we go 20% Gage, but if you go 3% Gage, you're gonna be ahead of the field still. You're still gonna be above the field on him. And if he does anything, it's there. We spent a lot of time on Russell Gage though. But it's true, but that's more game theory than the Russell Gage himself. That's with anybody though. Oh, you want to play the Kansas City game? Great. You want to be a little bit different? Fine. Use DeMarcus Robinson. You want to be a little different on Detroit? Use Marvin Jones. It's with all the games. There's that off player. A little different on Cincinnati. Go play AJ Green. You want to be a little different on Houston? Go play around. We can do this with just about any game on the plate. Green Bay. No, but that's exactly the point, right? You want to be a little different.
Exactly the point.
Go play the other guy.
AJ Green and people.
You want to be a little different on Pittsburgh? Play Juju Smith-Schuster. Watch the chat blow up with the never again Juju. That's how it happened.
Oh boy.
But that's the whole. Like I was a never again. Last week I'm watching that game. I'm like, never will I play Juju again. But then it's like, well, no, everyone feels that way. If everyone feels never again on Juju, that's the week you play him.
Yeah, no, it's
he's have a 30-point game coming in here at some point because Ben will be all over him, right? So that's coming.
He's still talented.
Sure is.
All right, Sean, give us one big play for the week, and then we'll let you get back to getting your lineup set.
Honestly, so I mean, Boyd's a little more. Honestly, if Randall Cobb, I'm telling you, I love Randall Cobb in this matchup. I mean, Boyd is Boyd. Randall Cobb is the sort of off my board sort of play. as why he's the dirty slot this week, but I think he gets there. I think I wouldn't, same thing. He gets in that end zone, we're dancing, right? We're lapping the field already. So
yeah, he's getting his targets.
I added Julian.
The targets are there.
Julian.
No,
but
I agree with that.
But Cobb is
Julian Edelman's way too cheap.
Cobb.
Way too cheap. Good stuff
for sure.
Awesome. Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it. Guys, if you want to find Sean, you can find him in the Bankster DFS members only Slack chat, which you can join for $3.99. Not just the Slack chat, all the articles, all the player pools, everything we do. Football, basketball, hockey, soccer, baseball, tennis, NASCAR, MMA, PGA, college sports, EuroLeague. I'm missing some stuff, I'm sure. We cover it all. Up there, we cover it. $3.99 a week. And then you get to talk to Sean, Michael, myself, and all our hosts and writers all day long.
Later, all right, Sean. Good luck, everybody. Let's see that green. All right, boys.
Oh, yeah.
Michael, we had a couple of questions in the chat as I stepped out. Let's have you address this one. In cash, is it a good play? Both Murray and Kamara. Do we play them both in cash?
No, I'm assuming that you mean Latavius Murray, not Kyler Murray. So I'll just preface that. And assuming you do mean Latavius Murray, no, I would not use them in the same lineup in cash. I mean, I always, unless for very, very specific circumstances, I stay away from two players from the same team. The only time I'll break that is if it's a quarterback wide receiver. But in this scenario, no, I would not do that. I mean, the thought out there is that, with how much Kamara is going to play in the passing game, that Murray is going to see more playing time and get more carries. But Murray's got a very, very low floor, especially if Detroit can put up, if Detroit can put points up if Carolina can put up points this week, Murray's not going to be on the field that much. They're going to be passing more, maybe more 3-wide sets, or even using Jared Cook out there more. So I would not use both of them in the same lineup for cash. Now, for a GPP, I think it's a strong play because you probably won't see much of that, where you can kind of treat Kamara as a wide receiver, eligible at the running back spot. Yes, I think for a GPP, that's a very live idea, but for cash, I wouldn't go there. It's way too much downside risk.
Another question I'm going to throw your way as well. Mark wants to know thoughts on Josh Allen. You didn't really miss it, Mark. We did touch on Buffalo, though.
Yeah, I mean, Allen's definitely in a smash spot. He's dominated the Jets, so far in his short career. And, Allen's got that strong rushing upside. I touched on it on Friday, that I think every game he's played against the Jets, he's had at least 50 yards or a touchdown rushing in every game. And, I mean, that's a tremendous rushing floor just from that. And his passing game has been gone to, up to another level. He struggled the past 2 weeks. So I'm, wondering if he's regressing a little bit or if it was just two tough matchups. He just struggled, and just, nobody's perfect for 16 games. So those struggles are going to come. And, and again, it was 2 very weird weeks for them. They didn't know if they were even going to play against Tennessee, and then came out and got shellacked. And they were playing Kansas City, whose Kansas City's defense has actually been very surprising this year. So again, it was 2 tough matchups, 2 weird week, and a very, very tough defense. So this is a get right spot against the Jets. So it's definitely a strong play. He may go a little under owned. I don't really know how to think about his ownership projection. And again, the one worry here is that the Bills really control this game and blow the Jets out, where Allen maybe doesn't need to do a lot. Because it depends on how they score. If we see like what happened when the Jets played the Colts, and the defense gets a touchdown or 2, and you get Singletary to run a touchdown or 2 in, the Bills could be up 28-0 with Josh Allen not doing much and not needing to do anything more. So there's always that risk there of the potential blowout, but I do think he's in a fantastic spot, and you definitely want exposure to him in GPPs.
I do think if the Bills blow the Jets out, Josh Allen will have something to do with it, but it's that continued success throughout the game that concerns me. That's why GPP only for me. Absolutely GPP only. His struggles, look, even though he struggled the last couple of weeks, he still did put up 2 touchdowns in each game, which is promising. Smashed the Jets week 1. That was in Buffalo, but I don't think the home field matters this year. And GPP, sure. If the field's 3% on him, I might go 5% on him in GPP. But I'm not going heavy on this game because while I like Diggs, I just think the pace of the game is going to be too slow. There's no real run back options on the Jets unless you want to have one lineup where I've got Allen, Diggs, and Perryman, but that's out of 150 lineups. So, yeah, it's there, but I'm not going heavy on this game pretty much at all. But if I am running Allen, it's a GPP for sure, and I do think he goes slightly under-owned this week. We do have another question that I want to address. So Brian comes in and wants to know, why do we need Gage this week? Why do we need any cheap wide receiver? Because there aren't spend-up spots. And in cash, I agree with you. I don't think we need to punt anything other than tight end and defense in cash because I don't think we need to. We don't have to spend under 5K on anybody. But in a GPP, we're doing it for ownership. We're doing it for leverage on the field. Let's talk about that real quick. Let's say we're running a stack with the Falcons and the Lions. So you're going to run out Ridley, Jones. We're not going to put Gage in there. You're going to run Ridley, Jones, and Galladay, let's say. So is everybody else. That is what everyone's running out. Now, instead of Hawkinson, maybe DeAndre Swift. Okay, that's fine. So Hawkinson and Swift may split some ownership. Now, if we're at this position right here, and we've got, let's say, Ryan, Ridley, Jones, Galladay, Hawkinson, you've got 4,300 left. That's not a big deal at all because you can get Gio Bernard in there, Jamal Williams in there. You can still spend up at another wide receiver spot. So you're right. Price-wise, we're okay. So why are we going to do it? Well, Mark responded in the chat. I'm going to put his answer up here because it's true. You're probably not cashing $1 million check with this lineup. Not because it won't be the highest, not because it might not be the highest scoring lineup. It could be the highest scoring lineup. But what if Gage does get the touchdown instead of Ridley or Julio? Or what if that ownership is there? Like, we don't want a lineup full of contrarian plays, but we're always talking on this live stream about leverage against the field. And there are 2 leverage spots in this game, in my estimation, because I do think, there's 3 leverage spots. There's Todd Gurley, Russ Gage, Marvin Jones, because I think they're going to be the 3 lower owned of the players. And quite honestly, Hayden Hurst, because no one's mentioned Hurst, but I just don't want to go there. I just don't think I'm not playing Hayden Hurst. Let's just put it. He's leverage. Great leverage. But where do we get leverage? Well, just like the Carolina-Atlanta game a few weeks ago when everyone was playing the passing game and playing Mike Davis and playing Robbie Anderson. Well, in that game, your leverage plays were Todd Gurley and DJ Moore. They both did really well. If you had Todd Gurley and DJ Moore, stacked it with the right game. And that week I had a fairly decent GPP because I think I went with the Kansas City stack and I ran it back with DJ Moore and Todd Gurley, who both had decent games. And my GPP lineup did very, very well because I use leverage against the field on a higher owned game. So you take this game right here, and so you're like, all right, well, maybe instead of, I don't know, maybe I don't want to do Julio. Everyone's on Julio after last week's really strong game. All right, so you pull in Gage up now at another position. I should probably just pull up the landing here. You could spend up at another position, and you could more easily pull a secondary game stack here. So maybe you want to run a lineup here. Let's just throw a crappy defense in so I can see what we're really working with. And by crappy, I mean the Jets. Let's put the Jets defense in here. Because that gives the maximum amount of money to play with. And so now we're looking at, okay, I've still got Ridley, and you could do this with Julio as well. It's only a $200 difference. I've still got Galladay. I've still got Hawk. I've still got Ryan. But now I've got Russell Gage instead of one of the Atlanta wide receivers. Well, now I'm looking at some of the other popular games on the slate, and let's say I want to run I want some action on this Arizona-Seattle game. Well, that's a great game to run some leverage plays on. Well, why is it a great game to run some leverage plays on? Because everyone's playing one of the 2 quarterbacks. They're going to play Hopkins. They're going to play Metcalf. They're going to play Lockett. No one's playing. There's a great leverage play of a potentially high-scoring. Now, I want a game mini stack. What do you run it back with? Well, we don't have the money to run it back with Hopkins, but we do have the money to run it back with Christian Kirk. Kirk's a popular play, but that's okay. We can live with that semi-popular play because he's not going to be overly popular because, as Sean talked about during his segment, that game is going to go slightly under-owned because people want to see their high box, their high scores, their high totals. So Christian Kirk in a 4 o'clock game is going to have double ownership of Christian Kirk 8 o'clock game. So you play Christian Kirk as your run back for Chris Carson. You've got exposure to the game, the fact that no one else is going to own. That's going to be a really low owned stack because you don't have Metcalf, you don't have Lockett, you don't have either of the quarterbacks. You don't have Hopkins, but you still have guys who can put up points. I mean, look, Carson's averaging 20 freaking points a week. He's fine. And we saw what Christian Kirk can do when things are going well for him. That leaves you $6,600 for a running back. $6,600 for a running back means that now we can go play Mike Davis. Oh, you don't want to play Mike Davis? You want to play a different running back? Hey, here's a great leverage week. I don't think anyone's playing CEH this week with Le'Veon Bell showing up. And now you've got another guy who is a high volume type player in a great offense, in a good matchup with a little bit of weather. And no one's going to own him. And if they decide to feed Edwards-Helaire, remember, this guy is not getting carries inside the 5. But if he were to get carries inside the 5 instead of those garbage handoffs to Hill and Hardman, if Helaire gets some of those, I mean, now we're talking at a 20-point player per game. That's 3x value. And we've got $500 over, so we don't have to use the Jets. We can go to the Washington football team. That's why you use Russell Gage. That's why you use Russell Gage, because you're getting leverage against the field. You can throw plays there. And you don't have to throw leverage plays because Gage is your leverage. You can go with someone a little chalkier if you want. But to me, this is a tournament lineup in front of us. It's got exposure to one of the highest scoring games on the slate. It's got a secondary stack from another high-scoring game, but it's got some leverage in there with Chris Carson. And you've got exposure to that Kansas City offense without going with Kelsey or Hill or Mahomes. And you've got the fear factor now with Le'Veon Bell. Michael, is there anything I've said that makes no sense in all of that?
No, not at all. Not at all. And I think the big thing to remember this week, because this is the first week that we've come across this, this is a great opportunity to be contrarian or have leverage plays using studs, because everybody is going to be on Gio Bernard. Everybody's going to be on Jamal Williams, and ownership numbers are going to be much higher this week because you'll see a lot of lineups with Ridley, Diggs, Julio, Devontae Adams, the DeAndre Hopkins, those high end receivers with the cheap running backs, and potentially you could even see lineups using all of Gio, Jamal Williams, and DeAndre Swift. Now you can, if you have a cheap defense, also you can pay up to the moon for all 3 receiver spots, and I think you see a lot of that this week. So really, there's a lot of good mid-range receivers on their prices, I feel, this week. And if you're paying up at the running back slot, you could gain leverage on the field by using some stud guys, and that's not very often that happens. So you want to keep this in mind when making your GPP lineups. Now, I'm not saying don't use guys like Williams, Bernard, and Swift, but when you're making your lineups, unless they're correlating into the stacks that you're using or as a bring back, somewhere along those lines, you don't need to use all 3 in a lineup. Use one of them. Keep some of the chalkiness of your lineups down to be able to be contrarian and get some leverage plays, but using quality guys that have huge workloads.
And with the lineup on the screen, I just pulled it up too. Marvin Jones can substitute for Gage, and it's the same concept. Like, you could run this lineup both ways. Just substitute. You could throw Stafford. I mean, there's your leverage. Speaking of leverage, we are being joined now by Josh Hook. The Hook's up. What's up, Hook?
What's up, guys?
And hey. Hook is actually coming on to talk to us about leverage plays today. So in DPP. So this works in perfectly. And I know Hook wanted to talk more about the New Orleans game, which I think is great because we didn't touch as much on that. For those that don't know, Hook can be found in the Bankster DFS members only Slack channel. You can find him at Hook Monster on Twitter. And Hook writes, let's see, Hook was my tag team partner for baseball all year. We wrote 3 articles a week together in baseball. He's a big hockey guy, so he does a lot of hockey. And what other sport what else do you cover, Hook? Like you came on right around baseball season, so what else are we going to cover now going forward?
I don't know. We're going to lose Korean baseball, it looks like. And
Hook was the KBO maven. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Oh, man, that was tough. Like, everyone, just the same name. It was awful. It was a horrible. Well, not horrible. I had fun, but it was weird.
See, I would think the waking up at 2 a.m. would be the problem to do your KBO write-ups. Dude, Hook made people so much money in KBO. People made like their year membership fees in KBO before MLB came back. It was ridiculous. I totally that seems like years ago. Oh, holy crap.
Yeah, I think I was like the only one doing anything during COVID. Whenever so I mean, I'm a night owl, so it's fine, but Anyone needs to
Yeah,
talk
no, we could have called it
about
Hook Monster DFS. Could have been the Hook DFS for a while. He was doing everything. It was awesome. But today you've got some leverage plays for football. And again, I know you wanted to talk this New Orleans Carolina game. So what do you got for us this week?
Yeah, I mean, like Alvin Kamara is a smash play today. I mean, like he's in a great spot. We know Carolina's not good against the run, but I could see a situation where I think New Orleans is going to try and slow this game down, and Carolina's not a huge pace team, and we see more Latavius Murray. And inside the 5, I love his touchdown equity. I mean, he could easily hit the maybe two touchdowns to win you a GPP, and you're off Kamara. Like, I mean, he's going to have 50% ownership. And if you can get Murray at 10%, who might be the second most used guy in this offense, just an absolute smash spot, and you're gaining ground on all the Kamara lineups. Like, I have some Kamara, but I'm half probably Murray right now compared to Kamara exposure. And I think I think it's just a great spot for him. I mean, it just really is. We saw it last.
Now, are you running Murray? Are you running Murray as game stacks, or are you running him as a one-off in other stacks? How are you handling the Murray situation?
I'm running Murray in anything I'm not on Kamara. I generally have another piece of the Saints offense. We saw, I think, in week 3 when they played Detroit, and Kamara was the overwhelming smash spot, and he failed. Is that the right week? Yeah. And I
got that pulled up right here. What did?
Yeah, and I mean, if you get 20 out of Kamara today, and you can get 20 out of Murray, Murray is helping you more. You're trying in a GPP setting. You kind of want to hit about 200 points if you want to win it, and it just makes your lineup different than other people too. Because I mean, my other rule with Kamara today was I think Bernard's probably going to be the second highest owned, or Williams, and I tried to do none of my lineups with Kamara and Bernard because I just thought that was the easiest way to build a lineup. That's kind of a way I just try and start my lineup process for the weekend. Is I go build the easiest, most chalky lineup I can think of. And the first 2 starting points for that this week was Kamara and Bernard / maybe Williams. Now that Aaron Jones has been ruled.
So it sounds like you're living by the code. Whatever everyone else is doing, do something a little bit different, and you're going to be okay.
Yeah, it just gives me a different way to think through my lineup build. It's kind of my goal, and instead of maybe taking a non-optimal play, it just gives me a different roster construction, and that's my goal with that one per se.
So you said in all Kamara lineups you were not taking Gio. Who do you find that you're stacking with, or who is your second running back in a lot of your Kamara lineups? And like who are people going to want to run to in that case?
Okay, so I have a couple actually here. I like James Conner a lot. I'm not expecting him to be owned at all. I mean, I don't know why the Pittsburgh game is not getting much love today at all. Like I looked through some ownerships, and all of them are sub 10. And we just saw Tennessee last week get smoked by Houston. Tennessee is not a good defense. Connor again, and I mean, this is the best defense Tennessee's played, and there is a situation where Pittsburgh is up in this game and they pound, and Connor has high touchdown equity if they're inside the 5 and 10. Like I like Deontay Johnson a lot today, Ebron a lot today, Claypool a little bit, not too much. I've already ruined that. I'm done with forever because I just can't do it. Yeah, I also another one I think kind of people overlooked this week just because they thought the game might get axed. I like Ronald Jones. The Raiders have given up, or Ronald Jones rushed for 103 straight games. The Raiders are not good against the run as well. I think he's just going to get largely overlooked, and I could see Tampa Bay just controlling this game, kind of like your prototypical Tom Brady, go in, get the win, let's go home kind of situation. And yeah, I mean, I think he could easily, at again very low ownership, hit you that 4 times you're looking for in that situation.
So if you're going the Rojo, let's say that's one of your builds. Where are you finding your value this week then? Because a lot of people are finding it at running back, and the first question you asked today was if you're spending up at running back, where value? Or if you're not spending down at running back, where are you going to find that value?
I love wide receivers that are cheap this week. I mean, I know a lot of people just naturally want to go to Adams, Ridley, Julio, Galladay to an extent, but I'm digging. I really like just the Cincinnati passing attack. I think even if you bring him back with Hunt, but I like Higgins, AJ Green, I mean, if you get the 10-time AJ Green game against the soft zone, he can easily pay off at 4,300. If you want to go super cheap, I like Gabriel Davis for Buffalo. I think we had in chat this morning. Like, I think Buffalo's still going to throw it 30 to 35 times, and they throw 73% of their passes to wide receivers. So it's big today, especially with John Brown out. I know. Sorry, Mike. I know you're a Jets fan, but I do like. I like Barrios and Perryman in that game too. I don't think Buffalo's defense is great by any means, and I think both of those guys can usually get 6 to 7 targets. I mean, sometimes when we think a team is bad, or we know a team is bad, like the Jets, they still get offensive plays, and they're still going to throw the ball, and there will probably be 20 to 25 completions on their part. So, I mean, it might not be the prettiest line, but if you can get a touchdown, you can easily hit a 5-6 out of those two guys, in my opinion.
Perryman's a good receiver. $3,700. I'm starting to warn him way too late in the game for me to do anything about it, but it's not too late for anyone else to do anything. I mean, Darnold is back. The Jets offense with Darnold and without Crowder. I mean, he got 8 targets with Crowder last week. I do think he's the natural run back spot in this game, but I just think in general he's if you're looking to spend down at wide receiver, that's not a horrible place to go. God, it feels so disgusting to say that though, but
it does.
The upside's ridiculous. We saw what he did as a wide receiver 1 last year when he was the Buccaneers' top receiver. He put up big games, and is Darnold that much worse than Jameis Winston? I don't so.
Yeah, I mean, and
Mike might have a different opinion.
Yeah.
God. As you're talking about, as you're talking about Darnold and Jameis Winston, and I'm wearing my Florida State sweatshirt. So yeah,
gross. That's so gross.
No, I mean Darnold just doesn't sling it like Winston does. I mean, see, Winston had that like almost misled confidence, you can call it, that he just didn't care. He would sling it around. If he threw an interception, well, I'm just gonna keep throwing it. Where Darnold won't sling it because he doesn't have that same type of confidence. And if Darnold throws an interception, it's just like it's just game over for him. He just reverts and just like sits in the corner and sucks his thumb.
Jameis Winston is the Jamal Crawford of the NFL. Like he's just gonna you know what I mean? He's J.R. Smith. He's just gonna keep chucking it like whatever.
I think the Saints would be better with Winston. I love Winston though. I mean, from a fantasy perspective, I guess. I mean, who cares about an interception if you're going to throw it 50 times? You get the ball back. Let's score.
Yeah. I mean, fully healthy, this Saints offense could really be a lot of fun with Winston throwing the ball. They're not going to bench Breeze, but if Breeze got hurt or something, it would be a lot of fun seeing Winston run this offense.
Oh, that would 100%. They could throw a pass over 10 yards. It would be amazing. I mean,
right. Any other big plays before we head out, Hook? Any other big play that we should keep an eye on today, or an undervalued play, a contrarian type play? What are we looking at? What else you got for us?
This is my last one. Washington's been really bad against the tight end this season, and I've seen Dalton Schultz projected under like 3% ownership today, and he's kind of cheap. I know the Dallas O-line is really banged up, and if they're going to get to it, which they will, I mean, he's going to look for short check down types, in my opinion. So I think at like that leverage type, and a lot of people just aren't on this game in general. I mean, I know 2 weeks ago didn't look so good. Arizona was okay, but Arizona's actually decent against tight ends this year, which is everything I've been taught against the last 5 years in NFL DFS. But like Washington, it's a good spot for Schultz. I mean, I think if you can get a touchdown out of him, I think Washington's a good point scoring defense, but I still think they can give up points. So Andy Dalton hopefully will be a little bit better this week now that he's had 2 weeks running the offense. So yeah, I kind of like Schultz as my kind of cheap tight end for the week with a little bit just not owned.
I like Schultz too. Got him in my cash game pool. I think he's going overlooked as well this week. I think that's it's a good call. I like that. Water Bowl against the tight end. Hook, thank you so much for stopping. And I hope we get to do this every single week. I really love your perspective that you took, particularly on that New Orleans game. That's exactly what we're talking about. Whatever everyone else is doing, do the other thing. Like that's the way to go. Guys, you can find Hook and the Bankster DFS members only Slack chat, which you can join $3.99 a week. BanksterDFS.com/subscribe. Cover it all, every sport, Slack chat articles, player pool, everything. And Hook is always in there. And he'll talk to you about sports cards too. Avid sports cards collector. We do have a sports card room, me and Hook and Gouda, and a whole bunch of the team. Justin Amy's in there. Just everyone. We love the sports cards, and so yeah, you can look for Hook there. Hook, thank you so much, and we'll see you in the Slack chat.
All right, thanks, guys.
Good luck today.
Thanks.
You too.
All right, so let's see what's going on in the chat room.
I do want to mention, since you were talking about the cheap tight ends, one guy that I've warmed up to a bit this morning, and it's not sexy by any means, but could be interesting, is James O'Shaughnessy on Jacksonville. So he's only 2,600, and I dug into it a little bit, and two things really popped off. The first is the Chargers defense. Aside from their game against Carolina, they've actually been burnt pretty badly against tight ends this year. The lowest output good game was five catches for 50 yards against the Chargers defense. So you're looking at a potentially pretty high floor. We know that that Jacksonville's pass offense, they like to spread it around a bit. And the other thing that actually caught my attention here was every game. I think it was every game except for one this year. The Jaguars tight ends have combined for at least 6 targets. And Tyler Eifert is out today. So with O'Shaughnessy basically being the only healthy tight end there and, going to get the majority of the routes, at 2,600, if he's getting 6 to 7 targets, he only really needs to go. I mean, 4X is only, he'd get you 9 to 10 points to, be at 4X. And it's not out of the realm of possibilities. And again, it's a value guy that, could be a spot to pay up elsewhere. And it's not the craziest idea in the world if you're doing if you like the Chargers offense as much as I do this week. It's not the craziest idea in the world if you're stacking Herbert with Allen and Mike Williams. You use an O'Shaughnessy, bring back, because, who's to say, what part of Jacksonville may go off, if it's Chark, if it's Cole, if anybody does. But, O'Shaughnessy doesn't need as much as the other guys to really give you that 4X value that you look to get towards the top of the leaderboards.
Good call. Now, I like O'Shaughnessy. I'd still rather go Harrison Bryant and Cash, just because I'm stubborn like that. Yeah. But O'Shaughnessy, if you don't believe in Harrison Bryant, I mean, O'Shaughnessy's got the targets to himself in that as a tight end. I just think I trust Baker more. Do I trust Baker more? I don't know, but I like the matchup better a little bit too.
Also, too, one thing I did see a report earlier, which I haven't had time to get in yet. Harrison Bryant, they're actually saying is going to be the starter over Njoku today.
Oh, I mentioned that earlier. You must, okay. You were looking something up on the phone. I mentioned that because that was, to me, that was like my moment where I had my sigh of relief, and I don't think I made a big deal of it. I was like, oh, Bryant's the starter, over Njoku. They're going to run a lot of 12 personnel, but I'll take the fact that the guy's the starter any day of the week. Big Matt wants to know. Sorry, Big Matt, that it took us this long to get to you. We just been doing our own thing here. Gio and Cash, yeah, that's nothing wrong with that. I'm spending up, but if you're spending down at running back, he's the guy. I like him significantly more than Jamal Williams and Justin Jackson as low cash options. Washington or Jets D. If you got the $500, you go Washington, but I don't. So I have no problem with the Jets. The Jets are fine. Don't spend up more than Washington though. Like Washington, Arizona, the Jets, they're all fine for cash defenses. Yeah. And if you need the $5, it's the Jets. I got no problem with the Jets. So yeah, that's okay. We keep ruining poor Mark. We ruined poor Mark. He's now running a part jet stack. Poor Mark. Every week we run these jet stacks. We talk him up and Mark gets sucked in on it.
Oh boy.
But he does say, okay, I do like this though. He is paying up at running back. He wants to be sure that we know paying up running back. Listen. If you're running 150 lineups or even lineups, dude, I don't have a problem with that jet stack. I want to go back to the Jacksonville game for a second though, because I forgot to mention this earlier today. And so on Friday on the live stream, we talked about Tyreek Hill at $6,400, and I kind of made a big deal about his pricing. I just think it's stupid low. There's some guys this week who are just priced wrong. Joe Burrow's priced wrong. Mark just said too that it was prior to us mentioning it, so he's taken some of the guilt off of me. Thank goodness. Maybe we just confirmed it. Who knows? So there's some players that are just priced wrong to me this week. I think Joe Burrow's priced way too low, as are his weapons like Tyler Boyd priced way too low. Tyreek Hill at $6,400 is stupidly low priced for his upside. Even in the snow, I think he's just such a great one-off play. Or if you're going to run a mini stack, you run Tyreek Hill with with Noah Fant. I think that's a great way to go in that game, or even Melvin Gordon. Because I think when we're building those stacks, so when we were talking about that Detroit-Atlanta stack, which I didn't leave up on the screen, because we were looking at some other stuff, but let's say if you're running a stack and then you run a secondary stack, which maybe has some leverage plays, you're usually going to have one spot open in your lineup. I like that spot to be a super high-end one-off. Tyreek Hill, stupid low price, is a great one-off. But if you only got $5,500, DJ Chark at $5,500 is stupid. It's a stupid low price. I can't play him in cash because he's been slightly inconsistent with the target volume. He has, 3 of his 5 games is under 5 targets, but he also has 9 targets and 4 targets in 2 of his last 3 games against some weaker pass defenses. And the Chargers defense is decent, but it hasn't been locked down like we thought it might be this year. Dude had 14 targets last week. I get low ADOT, he's not running down the field the way he was. He was a little injured. The guy's incredible in the red zone. He makes the spectacular catch. Minshew is fighting for his job. If you think he's going to be, and I know we talked about O'Shaughnessy, and he's a great little dump-off valve, but if you don't think he's going to try to feed the ball to his best player, you're crazy. And at $5,500, to me, he is one of the 2 or 3 single best one-off plays, one-off high upside type of a play that you probably are not going to see a really high ownership on. I put when I was building my lineups, my 150, I think I had him at minimum 20%, and I think I have him up 30 some odd percent of my lineups. I just love him as a one-off, and at $5,500, he only needs 15 points. Like last week was a terrible week, and he almost got there on volume alone. Like, he had the 14 targets, he only caught half of them. He had a 6.4 average yards per catch, and he still had 11.5 points. Same thing, week 2 against Tennessee, he only had 4 targets and still. Week 1 against Indy, he had 11 points because he did have that touchdown. But here's where that upside is. Cincinnati went, 8 for 95 and 2 downs. There's your upside with DJ Chark, and that's not an unreasonable upside in this matchup, which I think will shoot out a little bit. We'll shoot $2,900 or 29 points for $5,500. You're talking over 5. You're talking 5x. Like that's, I like that. And so he's one of those plays that I just think is priced wrong. $5,500. He went down $800 after seeing 14 freaking targets. Insanity. And it's a later game too. It's a later game, so I love those one-offs to be in my later games. These are great late game hammer. Him, Tyreek Hill, and Christian Kirk are 3 one-offs you can use in the late games that I think are super high upside. Michael, sorry, I keep interrupting you.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I was just going to say, and let's also not forget, after a couple of hot weeks, James Robinson has struggled a bit the past 2 weeks. He's only averaging 3.1 yards per carry. And and that could continue. And if those struggles do, they're going to pass it more. And they've also, they've added another guy into the running back. Devine Ozigbo came off of IR, and remember him and Raquel Armstead were getting all the hype before. Ozigbo and Armstead were getting all the hype before each of them ended up going on IR. Armstead got a second bout of COVID. And Ozigbo, I think it was an ankle injury or a knee. I forget what it was. It was something minor, but something, to go on IR to miss a couple of weeks. So, the clock could be ticking on Robinson here, and he hasn't played well. And if that continues, I think they're going to pass it more. I do. I think they'll put, more. They'll put more into the arm of Minshew and see what happens. And that I think could bode well for Chark.
Yeah, I think that's a great play. One game we haven't touched on at all in either of our streams is the San Francisco New England game. Neither of us like this game at all. This game caused a little bit of consternation during our Friday live stream. But we'll give you some behind the scenes notes here, folks. So I had to run to the bathroom. It's an hour stream. I had to run to the bathroom, and I go, "Oh, Michael, why don't you talk about this game?" He goes, "Yeah, I don't like anyone." I was like, "Well, I'm not leaving then." But, of course, I picked the wrong game to do that on. It was there's just not a lot. Like, I do think Debo 5,000 is interesting in a GPP. I did put him in my GPP pool because he's seen targets, I believe, if I pull up the stats. But it's 14 targets in the 2 games, in 2 of the 3 in his last 2 games. He hasn't done much with them. That first game, he only had, but those targets are nice. He gets here and there. The team loves to run the ball with their wide receivers. And 5K, he's kind of a guy we can sort of look at. I do think running Cam Gitt is always a decent play. Another name I wanted to talk in this game. I do think it's a fade for me this week. I don't trust that offense. I think we just need to talk about James White very briefly. If you don't want to run Cam Kidd, and Sean talked about Julian Edelman, but James White is getting a ton of target volume. He's had 17 targets the last 2 weeks. He is, put this up in the article this week, he is what he is. He's not going to, unless he scores a touch, bust for a 30 or 20-point game. But if you need a guy who you feel pretty confident in getting double-digit points, he's going to do that for you because he's going to catch 5 to 10 passes. He's going to get you a couple of carries. I mean, they're actually running him more this year than they have in the last few years. 3-4 carries for him is quite a bit. And so if you need 12 to 15-ish points, you just need that last spot. You don't want to use Justin Jackson, and you don't want to go down to Jamal Williams or Gio Bernard. Or you just want to be different run and a contrarian type guy. You're running 100 lineups. I don't see the problem with running 3% James White. So, you want to run 4 lineups or 5 lineups out of 150 with James White instead of Gio Bernard in those lineups, or Justin Jackson. You just straight swap just to get a little bit of variance. It's not the worst thing you could do because he's going to get you those points. And if he happens to fall into the end zone on one of those catches, or Bill gets a little crazy and keeps him inside the 5, which they do on occasion, and Cam runs an option and pitches it to him or something, now you're looking at a potential 18 to 20-point week. He crushes his value, and you're going to have him and nobody else will. But again, you need 150 lineups to make that a viable play.
Yeah, and I mean, let's not forget also that we know what James White's role is, but they've always trusted him in the red zone. He gets quite a few red zone targets, and they're not afraid to hand it off to him in the red zone. At least in the Brady days, these days it is a little bit different because Cam is more likely to get that red zone carry over White, but they'll still look White's way, inside the red zone for and some end zone targets as well. So he's, again, White, we're never going to feel comfortable in cash because he doesn't have like that, true touch role, but he's always got the upside, especially with the targets that he does get, and he always has touchdown upside. So he's always a guy that you could use, as a leverage. And as you said, Doug, on a week like this, with those cheap running backs that are going to be massive chalk, it's a good leverage against it.
It definitely is. Big Mac comes in with a question that makes me want to smash my head against the wall because it's a coin flip for me. Jets Diggs or Washington D and Kenny Golladay. I'm going to let you answer this one because this one makes my brain hurt.
It's actually perfect that you make me, because I had this exact same decision to make in my cash lineup, and I really, really struggled with this one, but ultimately I did go Washington defense and Golladay. And the 2 reasons I did that was because I think that Atlanta will put up more points than the Jets do. So I think Golladay is going to have more opportunities. And I think the Washington defense is in a slightly better spot than the Jets defense is. Now, when it comes to the cheaper defenses, we just look for the opportunities. We don't really care about the price or how bad the team is. But at the same token, I worry about the potential opportunities that Diggs may have if the Bills do run away from it. It's a great spot for both receivers. I mean, ultimately, I don't think you go wrong with either one. I just see more ways that Diggs can fail than I do Golladay. We always have to mention with Galladay's quarterback, Stafford, this could be the week that Stafford throws up that stinker and only throws for 180 yards and 2 interceptions. Stafford always has.
Don't do that to me. No, don't do that to me. I got Golladay in cash. Don't do that to me.
He's always got those games in him, but I do prefer Golladay. I think Galladay's got a better route to success and an opponent that can put points up instead of versus Diggs.
And while we try not to worry too much about how many points an opposing team will put up against our defense, because that -4 isn't going to kill us, if Diggs scores the touchdown that puts Buffalo above 31 points, that's going to take 4 points away from the Jets. It's only a 2-point touchdown for you. Yeah, that's not the most likely scenario, but since they are playing each other, I do think because this is so close, that could be a deciding factor as well. I mean, for my cash, I have Golladay and the Jets, so I sort of mixed and matched and found and used that extra, was that $700 to spend up. Normally, of course, our advice is when in doubt, make more lineups. But in cash, we don't want to make more lineups. We make one cash lineup, and you stick with it. So we're not playing the when in doubt, make more lineups, because I know that's something Matt's been with us since the beginning of this. And by this, I mean Bankster DFS 2.5 years ago. And so he's heard till it's just ingrained in his brain, when in doubt, make more lineups. But that's not the cash route. So I want to make sure that we don't live and die by that credo during for cash games. Like, honestly, Matt, if there's a place to get to use the extra $800, I don't know why we wouldn't go Galladay Jets and upgrade somewhere else. But if there's nowhere else to upgrade, I think it's got to be Galladay and the Washington football team defense. As much as I like Diggs, Mike's point is the truest thing said all stream. He has the bigger opportunity to fail, I think, in this. I could see more routes where he would fail, and so yeah. As much as I like Diggs, I want to find a place to play Diggs. More lineups cost me more money. That's true. But you could win more money too. Is the non-cash game answer to that question. What else do we want to talk about? We got about 3-4 more minutes before we're gonna peace out of here. Maybe 5 more minutes. Is there anything you haven't touched on, Michael, that you're passionate about right now?
I mean, my biggest things this week, if you do play the GPPs, if you're building, a lot of lineups, multiple lineups, make sure you've got enough exposure to the Chargers passing game and the passing games in Pittsburgh and Tennessee. I think those are two of my favorite leverage spots this week. You're going to have massive ownership on Seattle, Arizona. You're going to have massive ownership on Green Bay and Houston, and I think you're going to have massive ownership on Detroit and Atlanta. And the Pittsburgh Tennessee game, that's going to, I said, mentioned this on Friday. This is going to be the projected highest paced game of the week, and there's a lot of value to be had in this game. If you went, as Doug is doing up here, if you go in, Roethlisberger with Deontay Johnson, and if you use Chase Claypool or Juju, whichever way you go, I'm staying away from Juju this week. I'm not.
That's why I left this blank, though. I left it blank because that's right. That's the decision point. Do you go Juju or Claypool? That's the big decision point. So we're going Claypool in this one.
My preference is Claypool. I think he Deontay's definitely ahead of Juju. I think Claypool can eventually get there, and this could be the start of that. In the Tennessee side, A.J. Brown or Jonnu or using both. I mean, this is a very cost-effective stack. And, now if you're using a dirt cheap defense like we love to do, you can get 2 stud running backs in there, and your ownership numbers are going to be way, way down. And this is not one of those lineups where you're getting, too cute contrarian. You're getting contrarian and very low ownership on very good players. You're not taking, it's not like you're going 4,300 for a receiver that you're lucky if he gets 5 targets and you're hoping he catches an 80-yard touchdown. You're getting contrarian to the point where you've got guys with solid roles or even, workhorse roles, and and you're in, everybody is in, strong smash spots. Look, you can get McLaurin in there in one of the best matchups on the board as your flex. I mean, I don't think anybody with this type of lineup can complain or not want to use any of these guys in any lineup. And this is going to be a very low ownership lineup aside from Kamara. But again, if you're eating chalk at one spot and you're getting contrarian in every other area where you're not getting cute, I mean, it's a great thing to be in and to leverage the field.
I'm just clicking buttons. Nothing major. I'm just clicking around here and seeing what we can do with this lineup. I mean, tell me what about this lineup we don't like. Like you've got a stack from a high-paced game. You've got Kamara. You've got one of the best one-offs on the slate, Tyreek Hill, and you can either go Rojo or Todd Gurley in this spot and be really good position. Now, if you want to get a little cute, you run Melvin Gordon instead of Rojo, and then you upgrade your defense. You can upgrade your football team like this. Why are more people not doing this? I love this Pittsburgh Tennessee game. I have a ton of exposure to this game. If I'm running 150 lineups, I think I have my percentages right here next to me. I was running approximately 10 to 15%, just under 20% of this game, but various stacks with this game is about 20% between a Roethlisberger and Tannehill stack. So
Yeah.
1 in 5 of my lineups has some form of a Pittsburgh Tennessee stack.
Yeah, and also
because
too,
good
I
game.
think another thing to look out for. It's not necessarily a smash spot, but the Kansas City offense. I mean, you can get Mahomes, Hill, and Kelsey at probably sub 10%, at definitely sub 10% ownership this week, and maybe even sub 5% ownership. And it hasn't. They haven't had their explosion game yet, so you can say, well, that's eventually going to come, which it definitely will. And realistically, anytime you can get that Kansas City offense under 10 or even under 5% ownership, you got to do it just because. I mean, because again, those guys all in the same game too can put up slate breaking numbers, and if you get it at sub 10, sub 5% ownership, you're easily lapping the field with those studs.
Mahomes is my 3rd highest owned quarterback this week, and in GPPs behind Rodgers and Watson, because I'm not getting too cute with that. Like, I'm just gonna stack it.
Yeah.
But I think anytime, and we've been playing the Mahomes thing a lot. I found Mahomes is going under owned most weeks, which is sanity to me. You've got a natural run back here with Noah Fant, and then when you do this, I'm just gonna play around with some numbers here. Might as well. We got a minute or two before we got to head out. Like you don't have to get too contrarian to make this. No, I don't want to use him. I don't want to use Lockett. I want to use Metcalf. I'm not sure I can get all the way up, so we're just playing with what could work. But maybe you go Metcalf and Hopkins, and we go cheap defense, and maybe enough money to go a couple value running backs, and maybe this is where you go value running back day. You not sure we can get up there. Nah, we can't. It's 77. Nah, too much. So Hopkins is not the way to go in this game. But you can go Metcalf. You can go.
But this is the type of lineup or build where
Yeah.
you can eat a little bit of the chalk on those value running backs, because you're getting stud guys sub 10%, and that's your main part of your stack.
Yep. Again, there's so many different ways you can go with this, and again, you're not overly punting anywhere. And ownership, like this is like I'm just clicking buttons, and I mean we have $5,700 for 2 running backs. You don't even have to punt a running back position to make this work. But let's say you do punt. Let's say you're like, all right, I'm going to run Gio in this lineup because money. I mean, where's the downside? You've got the run back. You've got your crappy defense, and you can get Gio, and you can actually run Gio, Kareem Hunt, Gio James Conner, Gio Mike Davis. Like, if you wanted to go even higher, you get Gio out of there. You go Jamal Williams. Now you can go run. You just short of Derrick Henry. Now you run this. Like, this is a great lineup. You've got some late game players. You've got a lot of sub 10% ownership guys, and there's not a single player in this lineup other than the Jets defense that can't bust out for a big game. And so I think Michael's got a great point. Do what they're not doing. You don't need to stack, the Carolina Panthers, who could have a good game, but no one's on the Panthers. The Panthers aren't projected to have a monster game. You don't have to stack the Panthers to be contrarian. You could stack the Chiefs and be contrarian. I'll take the Chiefs as my contrarian option. Thank you.
Yeah, that's
very much.
That's pretty nice when you can have those guys as a contrarian option.
It's pretty, and it's been that way too much. Like, just see what the world is doing and do the other thing. There's only going to be 3 or 4 stacks that are overly stacked. Don't pick them if you want to be contrarian, or pick them and find, like we talked about with Gage or Todd Gurley or players like that, or Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Like, find the one player that's going to be slightly different, who's still high upside. Play them. Like, you don't have to go crazy. You don't need 1% ownership on everybody, and you don't need to spend $3,400 on every player to make your lineup contrarian. You can spend up and be contrarian. Josh Allen is going to be contrarian in a stack. Use Josh Allen as a run him naked, or run him with Diggs, or run him Diggs and pair him. Like, there are ways to go about it, and then spend up everywhere else. Like, you can make with higher owned guys, you can do that.
100%.
All right. The rambling is now subsided. Michael, another great show. Thank you for your insight. Guys, if you want to find Michael, myself, Hook, Sean, the rest of the team, we can all be found at banksterdfs.com. If you'd like to subscribe, it's only $3.99 a week. That gets you everything we do. Our articles, our player pools, the single best Slack chat in the business. The Slack chat alone is worth 5 times what we charge, but we want to build a community We have a bunch of fun. The Slack chat's always rolling. We cover it all: football, baseball, basketball, hockey, soccer, tennis, golf, NASCAR, MMA, EuroLeague, college sports, sports betting, sports cards, and a couple of other fun rooms, entertainment-wise, just to keep you going. There's something for everybody. You literally play one $5 double up a week, and you make your money back when you hit that double up, and everything else is gravy with us. And it's a lot of fun. $3.99 a week. You can find me on Twitter at Bankster17. You can find Mike on Twitter at The Big Gouda, and you can find us on YouTube. Just type in my name, Doug Shane. Like, share, subscribe, click the notification icon for when we have our videos. We go live every Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, every Sunday morning, 11:30 a.m. Eastern. Good luck, folks. Have a great week 7. Can't wait to hear back and see those green screens.